The sun was soft that afternoon, stretching its golden arms across the wooden planks of Santa Monica Pier. Laughter drifted from the roller coaster tracks, children chased the salty wind, and buskers filled the air with the hum of guitars. But amid all the noise and joy, a small, fragile figure tried to blend into the crowd, a teenage girl named Emily, sitting quietly in her wheelchair, her fingers gripping the worn armrests as if clinging to courage itself. She had come to the pier not to find attention, but to feel something other than loneliness. After all, life had been unkind to her. Her legs, once strong and full of life, had betrayed her after a terrible car accident 2 years ago. Since then, she had learned that sometimes, the world didn't just look away from pain, it kicked it when it was already down. Before the story unfolds, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and standing up for what's right, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, because even one act of empathy can change someone's life forever. Emily's mother had insisted on taking her to Santa Monica that day. "You need the sun," she had said. But deep down, Emily only wanted to feel normal again, to roll her chair along the boardwalk, to breathe in the ocean, to forget for just a few minutes that she couldn't run anymore. The crowd didn't bother her at first. She smiled at the ocean waves crashing below, the smell of popcorn and sea salt swirling together like a warm memory. But it didn't take long for the cruel side of humanity to reveal itself. 3 teenage boys, loud, restless, and filled with the kind of arrogance only ignorance brings, noticed her. They were laughing at something meaningless, throwing fries at seagulls, when one of them pointed and smirked. Emily felt it, that sharp, heavy stare that stripped away her comfort. They walked closer, pretending to be casual. The first boy snickered, "Hey, what's the view like down there?" The second one leaned over, mocking her wheelchair. And then came the third, the one who didn't just speak cruelty but acted on it. He kicked the footrest of her chair and spat, "Move, cripple." The word struck her harder than any physical blow. Emily froze, her throat tight, her eyes glistening. She tried to roll away, but the boy blocked her. Her chest began to shake, not with fear, but with a kind of heartbreak only those who've been broken too many times understand. People walked past, pretending not to see. Some slowed down for a moment, pity flickering in their eyes, but then turned away, unwilling to get involved. The world kept spinning, indifferent to her humiliation. One of the boys laughed and nudged her chair harder, tipping it slightly to the side. Emily's small cry of panic was swallowed by the sounds of waves and music. She hit the ground. The world went silent for her, all she could hear was her own breath, short and uneven, and the boys' laughter echoing above. For a moment, she wished she could vanish, disappear into the cracks of the boardwalk. But the next sound she heard wasn't laughter, it was the deep, thunderous growl of engines. At first, it was faint, like a vibration in the wood beneath her palms. Then it grew louder, a rolling, powerful rumble that made the bullies stop laughing. From the far end of the pier, a line of motorcycles appeared, gleaming in the sunlight. There were at least 20 of them, each one ridden by someone who looked carved out of strength and steel. Leather jackets, helmets glinting, tattoos glimmering under the sun. They moved as one, their engines roaring like a storm at sea. The crowd turned to watch, the sight was magnetic. The lead biker was a tall man with silver hair tied back under his helmet, a grizzled face marked by time and scars. His name was Jake, a Marine veteran who now led a biker group called the Guardians. They weren't just riders, they were protectors. Every weekend, they rode across California, raising awareness for disabled veterans, abused children, and those who felt unseen. Fate, or perhaps something greater, had brought them to Santa Monica that afternoon. Jake stopped his bike just feet away from the bullies, killed the engine, and dismounted. The pier went dead silent. The boys took a step back, trying to hide their fear behind shaky smirks. Jake looked down at Emily, then at the toppled wheelchair. Without a word, he lifted it upright and gently helped her back in. His eyes were kind but fierce, like a storm that knew exactly where to strike. "Did you do this?" he asked quietly. The boys hesitated, one muttering something about, "just joking." Jake's jaw tightened. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't need to. "You think this is a joke," he said, stepping closer. "You think hurting someone who can't fight back makes you a man?" The other bikers, men and women alike, formed a silent ring around them. The bullies were trapped in the middle, their arrogance dissolving into fear. Emily watched in awe. For the first time in 2 years, she saw someone fight for her, not because they pitied her, but because they believed she deserved respect. Tears slipped down her cheeks, and when Jake turned back to her, his expression softened. "You okay, sweetheart?" he asked. She nodded, unable to speak. The bullies were trembling now, realizing they were surrounded by a wall of roaring engines and protective hearts. Jake didn't hit them, didn't shout. Instead, he did something that burned deeper than any threat. He told them to kneel and apologize. When they hesitated, he started his bike again, the deafening sound enough to make their courage crumble. One by one, they mumbled apologies, their voices small and shaking. Emily didn't look at them. She was staring at the ocean, trying to hold herself together. Jake turned to his crew. "We don't leave her alone again," he said. And just like that, 20 bikers became her silent guardians. They took her to the railing where she could watch the sunset, the same sunset that had watched her break earlier. Now, it watched her begin to heal. The pier, which had once felt like a battlefield, became a place of peace. People began to clap, strangers who had once turned away. Some filmed it, some cried, and a few came forward to offer kind words. But Emily didn't need their pity anymore. For the first time, she felt powerful, because someone had shown her she mattered. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Jake and his crew talked with her mother, who had rushed back in tears after hearing what happened. Emily told Jake she used to love drawing before the accident, but she had stopped because she felt useless. Jake smiled and said, "Useless? You're stronger than half the people I've met. Don't ever stop creating beauty because of someone else's ugliness." That night, the Guardians escorted Emily home, their bikes forming a moving wall of light down the Pacific Coast Highway. People in cars honked in support, waving as they passed. To Emily, it felt like the entire world had shifted, as if kindness had finally taken the wheel again. Weeks passed, and the story of what happened spread across social media. Someone had filmed the moment the bikers surrounded the bullies and helped Emily. It went viral, millions watched as compassion triumphed over cruelty. Messages flooded in from across the world, from parents teaching their kids about courage, to other disabled individuals saying they finally felt seen. But the biggest change was in Emily herself. She began to paint again. Her first artwork was titled, "Wheels of Courage," showing a sea of motorcycles circling a small girl by the ocean. She gifted it to Jake, who hung it in the biker clubhouse. Months later, during a charity ride for disabled children, Emily was there too. This time on a specially designed trike Jake's team had built for her. She rode beside them, her laughter carried by the wind, her hair flying free. Every twist of the road became a new chapter of her healing. Jake watched her ride ahead, pride in his eyes. He knew that while he had helped her that day, it was Emily's own strength that had carried her forward. She had faced cruelty, humiliation, and despair, but she had chosen to rise. The pier that once broke her spirit had become the place where she found it again. As the sun set once more over Santa Monica, Emily stopped her trike at the same spot where she had fallen months ago. She looked out at the endless waves and whispered, "Thank you." Not just to Jake, not just to the bikers, but to life itself, for reminding her that even in the darkest moments, light can find its way through the cracks. And somewhere in the distance, the sound of engines echoed again, not as noise, but as a promise. A promise that kindness still rides among us, ready to rise when the world forgets compassion. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that goodness still exists in this world, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe, because your small act of kindness helps stories like Emily's reach others who need hope. Sparkle's special request: tell us in the comments, what does kindness mean to you? Emily's story reminds us that heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes, they ride on two wheels, carry scars instead of medals, and show up exactly when the world needs them most. And sometimes, the strongest hearts are found in the most fragile bodies, hearts that refuse to stop believing that love and kindness can still change everything.